Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Chancellor, for being here. I'm going down a little bit of the same path that we've kind of talked about already, but within the state system, we're very proud of our state system and the schools that we have included in there. We understand, as you use the word partnership a lot, understand that partnership between funding and their success, and want our students to be well educated and stay here. So that being said, at this point in time and looking at the numbers here, we have, as has been mentioned, a falling number of enrollments. We have an increased number of state dollars going to the school for less students. We have less students that we're educating. We have more online classes as well with distance learning. We have many more students starting out in community colleges to cut costs, which is a smart way to go. We have a very strong community college system. As we move through all of this, and we've also had the conversations, and we'll have that again this week with labor and industry, of workforce development and options to college. Not every student is cut out for college. My question directly to you is the fact that when we negotiate the budget, and we've gone up in 5% increase, 3% increase, 2% increase, 3% increase in the last 4 years, one of the negotiation conversations that's had is that the state system will hold equal to give the benefit of the doubt and not raise tuition. Because I hear in my district, here in Cumberland County, the fact that, well, you need to give the state system an increase so that the in-state tuition will stay the same and I can get those benefits. I'd like to have your perspective on the fact that we, as the state, continue to give funds, and then last year, not over atop the 3%, you also increased tuition by 3% on the parents in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, so there's a couple of things. Can I maybe refer to pages 24 and 25, because in effect it establishes context for a lot of the conversation we're having, and please don't take this the wrong way, I'm just presenting the data. So if you look at what we show on pages 19 and 20, are the relative balance of funds for any student that's enrolled, and we're comparing what's happening in Pennsylvania with what's happening nationally. And Pennsylvania chooses to invest 27% of the total cost of a student FTE comes from the state, and the remainder is made up in student tuition. The average across all states is 54%. Okay, so that's, and again, those are education and public policy choices, they're funding choices. A lot of the things that we're talking about are driven to a certain extent by the choices that have been made. A different graph shows the situation specifically. That's Pennsylvania. As a whole, a different graph with the same data, but for the Pennsylvania state system, is available elsewhere in the docket, and I'll find it in a second. But in Appendix B2, they look very similar. So that's background and that's context. And so the tuition increases that are happening in effect in response to the change, but to that changing environment. There's other things going on, obviously, but if you're looking at the macro level and the biggest driver of tuition increases, that's what it is.
But in taking a look at other states, and I recognize where other states are, as we've seen over the years, Pennsylvania is where it has been for a number of years. So that situation hasn't drastically changed in the fact of how much funding is out there and what our student body looks like and what we are to expect. I guess I know the parents that came to me were extremely frustrated with the fact, because that's their argument when they come to see us and say, please, look at the increase to the state system because we need to keep our in-state tuition lower.
Yeah.
And then we agree to that, we make the decision, and the budget moves forward, fine, on that pretense. And then when the board makes the decision, and I recognize that it's the board as a whole, makes the decision to then on top of the 3% do another 3%. So that was extremely frustrating to those of us that we thought the agreement had been that it would be a level playing field and level from last year, and no tuition increase. Do you see that need of a tuition increase this coming year?
So I think we need to be super careful in two ways. First of all, I think we don't have anywhere near the kind of headroom we used to, because again, if you look at the data, and
I'm sorry, we don't have any more.
Anywhere near the kind of headroom we used to have with tuition. If you look at the data on in the book, and I'll find the page in a second, where we look at the decline in enrollments from families in different income categories. The families from incomes in our core group, it's on page 29. the families who are earning less than $110,000 are leaving us more quickly than our overall enrollment decline. So that suggests to me that we're reaching the top. Now, that it plays out differently on different campuses, but that suggests to me that we're beginning to reach the top of where we can go with tuition increases. So
But it's based on those students' income that you're looking at? Is that what you're saying? That
So if you're
depending on
looking at-
how much the family makes determines?
If you're looking at indicators of market sensitivity to price, which is what this is about, then I would look at data like these to say, oh my goodness, if we have student populations who are leaving us more quickly than the overall enrollment decline, that suggests that price actually may be an issue. So thing one, we got to be super careful about tuition increases. Thing two, I don't think you want us to be leaving money on the table. There may be high demand programs. There may be high earning populations who have some headroom and some ability to pay more. So I think we need to be super careful in our tuition setting, which is why, as part of the sharing system, we're looking at more flexible approaches to tuition setting and tuition discounting, which are widely available in the industry but not available to Pennsylvania state system.
Do you see the need for a tuition increase on top of any dollars coming from the state this year?
I would advise the board, because it would be in the board's decision in the way that I've just advised you, to be extremely careful with tuition setting because we don't have anything like the headroom that we've had in the past. And I would also advise the board to be very careful not to leave dollars on the table from particular target populations.
Is that a yes? Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chancellor.